Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening. Folks, thank you very, very much for listening. Day today is the 26th of September, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Single, a.k.a. Motano. What's up? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you guys had a good week. I told you all a couple of weeks ago, I said after Trump was threatening to put the National Guard in Chicago, and I was like, huh? Which, if you're a new listener to the show, is where I live. I was like, okay, if that does happen, then I will be the first to tell you when I start to see some stuff popping off, when stuff starts getting real. I'll be the one to let you know that it's happening in my community. Well, since then, we've learned Trump's kind of backed off of that, and he sent them to, where did he deploy them? I think it was Memphis, and then he's threatened to send them to Detroit. I think he's floated St. Louis out there at some point. But he backed off of Chicago, and I credit I'm going somewhere with this. Why don't I just, where is the chase and how do I cut to it? Well, it's not the National Guard that's here. It's not them. It's ICE. Now, ICE has had a presence in Chicago for a little bit now. But there has been a very, how do you phrase this? There's been a very focused effort to be seen by ICE in these last couple of days. It was on Wednesday, I think, that I see a Black Hawk helicopter flying up and down the coastline. And I was like, what? The fuck is that? What's all this about? I'm like, it's not like the Bears are playing. There's not a flyover, you know what I mean? The Sox don't have nothing going on. It's not one helicopter. There's not one Black Hawk doing a damn flyover. It was not. I go to a flight radar, like the flight checker. It was a Black Hawk, and it was from, it was a damn Border Patrol helicopter. It's a customs agent flying that, tooling around in that thing up there. I said, oh, okay, they're in my community. For 2 straight days, up and down the coast, this Black Hawk helicopter is going around. And then the day that I'm taping this, Thursday, ICE agents on 2 or 3 different boats, masked agents holding guns, going up and down the Chicago River, just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm not going to say they're not, quote unquote, doing anything, because they are. Was it also earlier this week, somebody was shot outside of an ICE detention center here in Chicago? They be active, but it's just interesting to me that there's been such, there's been such an effort to make their presence known, even if those guys that are being seen aren't actually doing anything, and we can't see their faces, by the way, because once again, they are masked. And I don't have it. There's no commentary on this, by the way. I'm just letting you know. I told you I would let you know. I'm just letting you know. ICE is in my community right now. It's happening. It's happening. I go outside tomorrow. I take my son on a walk. I will see something. I'm going to see something. If I see something, I say something. I'm like the damn TSA. I told you I'd say it. And that's all there is to say. Outside of that, I don't know, folks. We try not on this show to, it's tough on the Friday episodes. We try not to do recaps of things that happened earlier in the week if the takes have already dried up and there's not that much to say. But I got to tell you something. Monday Night Football, Detroit Lions played the Baltimore Ravens on the road, and they came away with a victory. Not only did they come away with a victory, it was maybe the best win that they've had under Dan Campbell. It was one of the more convincing wins that they've had. Now, the score wouldn't indicate it. If you didn't watch the game, 38-30, final score, Monday Night Football, Detroit wins in Baltimore. If you didn't watch this game, you're going to think, oh, this is a pretty good game, pretty close game. It's a very good game. It's a very good game. Like, I think one of those games that America will be thinking about while we go through these next few weeks of primetime games. I mean, that as I'm taping this, what's the Thursday night game? It's like the Cardinals versus the Seahawks. Disgusting. Who cares? There's a doubleheader on Monday Night Football coming up, I think, and it's not good at all. So I'm just saying, if you need good primetime football, I hope you watch that Monday night game, because damn, brother, it was a good one. But what's crazy is in some ways it wasn't. In some ways, like, Detroit killed Baltimore. They really did. It was shocking. It was shocking. In what ways did they kill Baltimore? Well, in the ways that any given football game at any level that it is played, not just the NFL, at any level that it is played, Where a game of football is the most affected is in the trenches, on the offensive or the defensive line. And that is where the Detroit Lions absolutely destroyed Baltimore on Monday night. Shocking. It's not that shocking from the offensive line, honestly. That's kind of the run game has been the bread and butter of the Lions for the last 3 years. And more specifically, the last 2 years under this backfield of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I don't know, man. Penei Sewell and Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker and in previous years, Frank Ragnow. And I don't know, this year they were brilliant in this game. David Montgomery only got like 12 carries, went for like 155 yards, 2 touchdowns. Insane, like 70-some-odd yard run that he had in this game. Had like a 30-some-odd yard run, touchdown run to really ice the game, make it 38-24. And boy, oh boy, the defensive end. You talk about the defensive line, and you go into that game against Baltimore. And I have no reason to lie about this. I didn't think they were just going to lose. I thought they were going to get killed again. The last time they played Baltimore was 2 years ago, and they got absolutely murdered on the road. And I just thought, I don't really know why anything would change. We essentially have the same personnel on defense. And even though it is a different defensive coordinator, there's no way they're going to contain Lamar. Dog, they sacked him 7 times. Now, I don't know what the breakup is on that. I don't have it in front of me what the breakup is. We're talking about the, offensive and defensive line. I don't know what the breakup is in terms of, guys who are actually on the line or even on the edge versus like linebackers and stuff. I would imagine most of them went to the line. Most of them went to like Muhammad. I know Hutch had one. I can't think of it. Was a couple days ago, 4 or 5 days ago at this point. I can't really think of them off the top of my head. But man, they were getting pressure, and it didn't matter if they weren't even if they weren't the ones actually getting the the sacks. Again, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter because they were applying pressure, and they were not letting Lamar Jackson break contain, which is something that I'm shocked that they were able to do to the extent that they did, right? And it was 2 weeks ago, week 1 against Baltimore. We said on this show, it's really too bad that Derrick Henry fumbled at the end of this game. It's really too bad that happened. Honestly, it's too bad because he's such a supremely talented player, and you just hate to see something like that happen at the end of the game. It's just because he's not that kind of player, And then you watch this Detroit Lions game, and Aiden Hutchinson punches the ball out, and Derrick Henry fumbles again for like the 3rd straight game. Fumbles late in the game. 2nd time that he's fumbled in the 4th quarter of this season. And the other one, I believe, again, was the Buffalo thing. I'm just saying all this just to say, you watch him fumble late in the game against Detroit. It certainly is a different feeling. It's not like, oh, it's too bad that Derrick Henry fumbled. I did think it was fucked up. If you watch this game, so Derrick Henry, he fumbles the ball in the 4th quarter, and he goes over to the sideline, and he slams his helmet down on the bench. And like the way that he slammed his helmet down, his momentum just kind of made him like fall over. It was really kind of an embarrassing moment, honestly. He just kind of was mad and like slipped or something and just fell over like onto the bench. And I tell you what, whoever was the director of the broadcast for ESPN, they kept showing it over. It was like 3 or 4 times that they showed Derrick Henry fucking mauling on the sidelines and slamming his helmet down and falling over. It's like when years ago at this point, you remember when Odell Beckham Jr. got really mad? He was still on the Giants, and he got pissed about something. Maybe it was about Josh Norman. It was probably about Josh Norman. I don't remember. And he goes over to the sidelines, and he, like, throws his helmet. Like, he, like, punches the kicker's net. The net that the kicker warms up in on the sideline. He, like, punches that, and, like, the metal bar from it, like, just the inertia of the thing getting hit, came down and, like, knocked OBJ in the face. And he's just having this raw moment of just rage, and then he gets dumpstered by an inanimate object, and then that just exists in perpetuity on the internet. And I remember that was like the thing of the week, is people just showing Odell Beckham Jr. just getting punched in the face by something that doesn't even have a pulse. And I just felt bad. That's what I felt bad for. I didn't give a shit that he fumbled. I was like, yes, Derrick Henry fumble, yes. Oh my God. And before we move on to like the actual Detroit piece of this whole thing, I just want to say for the Ravens really quick, send you into your weekend. Doug, so the next time that I talk to you, The next time we record a show, we'll have talked about Baltimore playing Kansas City. That's happening on Sunday. Chiefs-Ravens happening on Sunday. It's one of those games. It's one of those games. You know what I mean? That you drop everything and you say it's Lamar versus Mahomes. I gotta watch this. But there's a new layer to it, right? This is what I want to say really quick. There's a new layer to it if you're the Ravens or if you're the Chiefs. Because these two teams aren't just playing. They're playing and they're both 1-2. Whoa. You talk about, every year, one or two teams that you thought were going to be good have to have a season from hell. They just have to. That's just how it goes, right? This year, Kansas City, early season contender for the year from hell. Baltimore, early season contender for the year from hell. San Francisco, I don't know. The record, I'm telling you, you look at the record right now and you're going to see 3-0. I don't know. I think the Brock Purdy injury is weird voodoo. Mac Jones has been survivable, I guess, at best, for 2 weeks. And he's won them 2 games. And the Niners are 3-0. The Niners piece of this literally doesn't matter. I'm just throwing them in there as like, hey, keep an eye on them. I don't know if this 3-0 shit is real, right? Kansas City and Baltimore. One of those teams is going to be 1-3 on Monday. Oh, my God. There's no way that either of them missed the playoffs. So it's crazy to think that we're about to watch a team go 1-3. And it may be in brutal fashion. I have no idea how that game's going to go. Although it's not going to be, Kansas City's not going to get killed. They've played competitively in all the games that they've played in. It's just kind of not really worked. They've just looked mortal. And even a step below that, I would say. Mortal is sort of a contender that can lose. I don't know what Kansas City is right now. I don't know what they are. But I'm not going to, the way that I just said that kind of makes it sound like I'm saying they're not a contender. I'm not going to say that yet. The Baltimore game is going to tell us a lot. But I'm just, imagine a 1-3 team. What does that look like going forward? I don't have either of their schedules, for the rest of the year in front of me. But these are two really good teams. And so you imagine they're going to be playing, first or second place schedules? First place schedules for both of these teams, I imagine, right? Yeah, it should be that. So, gee whiz, I don't know. Ravens the Chiefs were able to pull it off against the Giants on, Sunday Night Football. Scary hours. By the time you hear from me on Monday, it's going to be scary hours for either Kansas City or for Baltimore. Now let's get this thing back on the road. Let's get this thing back to talking about things that I really want to talk about. The Detroit Lions, I mentioned this, just had maybe one of their best wins under Dan Campbell, period. What are the competitors? If we think about, okay, Detroit beats Baltimore on the road Monday night in a game where I'm bearing the lead on a lot. I haven't talked about a lot of shit that I should talk about from that game. All the coordinator narratives. I honestly, you know what? And I do want to say that really, really quick before we rank the wins of the Lions. I'll say this really quick. I think the reason that game mattered so much to me is because all of this coordinator, the Lions lost their offensive and defensive coordinator. What is this team going to look like? Are they going to have a year from hell? Right? Is it a season from hell from Detroit? I think what mattered to me the most was watching that Ravens game and seeing, what was it on in that goal line call where they run the Amon-Ra gets the handoff out of the backfield and he pitches it off to Jameer and he takes the edge and he goes pylon. It's plays like that, and they ran a few gimmicky, gadget plays throughout this game that made me feel good as a Lions fan, because I'm see, it's still there. The identity of the team is still there. If you didn't know, and I swear to God, if you didn't know that Ben Johnson wasn't the offensive coordinator anymore for the Lions, and you watched that Ravens game, you would have no idea that Ben Johnson wasn't the coordinator of the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, because they were playing to their identity. They were playing to their strengths, going forward on fourth down, the play calls that they had on fourth down, right? We talked about this last week against the Bears. The route trees, all this shit, it made me feel good and it made me feel secure. And I was like, okay, this is still the Lions and this is still real. Okay. So now if we go back to the ranking thing, I don't know. This was a big win. What are the competitors? Kansas City on the road 2 years ago, week 1, Kansas City raising the banner. It's ring night. Chris Jones wasn't playing. I'm sorry. Chris Jones. Was it Chris Jones was out? Chris Jones, I think, was out because of a contract dispute. Kelsey was out, I think, because of an injury. So I think both of them actually might have been out. Brian Branch had a pick 6 in the game. Massive, massive win for Detroit. One of the biggest that you could think of. Obviously, the Rams in the playoffs. I mean, it's really hard to top that. Even though the Bucs was technically deeper in the playoffs, the Rams win in the playoffs. It was just different. It's Stafford. It's, you haven't done it in forever. It's at home. It's all this stuff. It's hard to top that. Another one off the top of my head, and this is probably the only other one I can think of. Well, there's 2 more. The Minnesota game. The Lions were like 0-10-1. They had a tie. Dan Campbell's first year, and they beat Minnesota. And they get their first win like 10 or 11 weeks into the season. And it wasn't a team that was like 0-10 or 0-11. They were. That's what their record was, but that's not what they were. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same thing as 2008 where they haven't won in 4 fucking months and they're not going to win. There was something there. They were 4 or 5 plays away at that point in the season from having 4 wins. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, they weren't garbage. It just wasn't happening until the Minnesota game, and it did, and it set the foundation. And then you think about the game right before, the first game we mentioned was Kansas City week 1 in 2000 to start the 2023 season. Well, the final game of the 2022-2023 season, Green Bay, effectively a meaningless game. There was a scenario, week 18, that the Lions could have made the playoffs. But the way that things played out, we went into the Sunday Night Football game against the Packers with it not mattering. We were officially not making the playoffs, even if we won the game. And all Green Bay had to do was win the game, and they were in the playoffs. So the only thing we had to play for was not letting Aaron Rodgers in what would end up being his final season for the Packers, not letting him into the playoffs. That is exactly what they did. And we sent off Aaron Rodgers from his Green Bay career with a fucking loss. And we beat them twice that year. So the Lions went 9-7, didn't make the playoffs, and then the rest was the following season they beat Kansas City, they go to the NFC Championship game, and blah, 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 and then last year happens. And so I don't know where this Baltimore one ranks in there. It's hard when it's week 3. Kansas City week 1 was different. It's week 1 coming off of a foundational season where we were like, is this actually real? And then you beat the defending champs week 1 on the road. It's different, right? This was week 3. So, you know what I mean? I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere in there. Massive win for the Lions. Cannot believe that actually happened. And it could be a good moment. I spent the last 10, 15 minutes talking about how good the Lions looked on Sunday. So I've sort of said my piece on them. You know where I'm at. I'm back. I think the Lions are really good. I think they're really good. They're not going to go 15-2 again. But that game against Baltimore, that Ravens game showed me everything it needed to show me. And I feel good right now. I'm up on the Lions. All right. So if we pivot and we turn this thing, I'm doing this impromptu, by the way, and we turn this thing into like a state of the address, Detroit Sports Edition. What does that look like? Well, the Lions are up and we feel good about the Lions. Right? Who else is playing right now? Well, technically the Tigers do have games that are scheduled and they are playing in those games. Well, they're playing. They're not performing is what it is. Folks, we have neglected to talk about this on the show. If you are not a baseball fan out there, you may not be aware of this. The last time that you really heard me do a segment about the Tigers was maybe like early August. I don't know how long ago it was, honestly. Things were like not chill. All-Star break Tigers, like post All-Star break Tigers, we were kind of like, oh, yeah, they're kind of going through some hardships, but like, championship teams need to go through some droughts, in the middle of the season. That toughens you up. It hardens you. And then that kind of snowballed into they just kept losing games, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not going to happen this year. And then the trade deadline passes, and everyone's kind of like, oh, so you're just going after 38-year-old pitchers who have really good like walk rates, and that's kind of it. Or they have really good like pop-up numbers or ground out numbers. And it's like, okay, Scott Harris, but it doesn't really matter what kind of outs these pitchers are able to induce out of the bullpen if they can't actually induce them at all. You know what I mean? And so when I'm going with this is like, again, if you don't know, the Tigers for 4 or 5 months were the best team in baseball. At least that's what their record would suggest. I don't know roster-wise, they weren't. They absolutely were not. But their record would suggest they were the best team in baseball, and they were, at the very least, the best team in the American League. As I'm taping this, as of 24 hours ago, they have blown a 15-game lead in the division. There is a world where they finish the season on a 12-game losing streak and make the playoffs, but there's equally a world where they completely miss out. I'm taping this while they're playing Cleveland. They've 3 games left after this. If they lose as I'm taping this, while you're listening to this, you know what happened during that. I mean, I could check in on it right now. I don't want to. And that's the sentiment. That's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing. With the Tigers making the playoffs. Is how they've stumbled through this finish line. It feels really shitty as a fan to say that you kind of hope they don't make the playoffs. It feels shitty to say, like, watching a team have a total collapse. This was not like we're going through something right now and we got to... This team, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what happened. I don't think they, like, gave up and quit. They just sucked. They just stopped being good. All of these, like, they're not, like, young bats anymore. I mean, they're all in their, like, early to mid-20s, so they are still pretty young. Torkelson and Riley Green, all these like fucking all-stars and these kids that we got, that all season we've been like, finally they put it together. Finally it's working for anybody that's not named Tarek Skubal, because it always worked for him, right? I mean, this last month, Riley Green has been terrible. Casey Mize actually has had some really, really good outings, but it hasn't mattered. Tarek Skubal is hitting dudes 100 miles in the face to the fucking nose. Well, 100 miles to the face to the nose. The face and the nose? Both? 100 miles an hour. Both. The face and the nose at the same time. Now, I don't want to shit on him for that, honestly, because it was clearly an accident. It sucked, but yes, Tarek Skubal was David Fry trying to lay down a bunt. Boom! 100 miles. Right in the face and the nose. Brutal scenes. The Tigers are in the mud. And it was kind of what I was worried that they were going to be in the offseason. When I was like, hey, it's weird that they're not getting anybody that can hit the ball and they're not getting anybody in the bullpen that can actually throw the ball. I was proven wrong pretty quick about both of those things, but mainly about guys who can't hit the ball. And then by the end of the season, where we are now for the last month and a half, I don't know. I don't want to be the guy who's like, maybe if Scott Harris like traded for Verlander at the deadline, we wouldn't be in this position, because you're going to trade for the guy who was like 45 years old and had thrown, like, I don't know. Until the middle of August, Justin Verlander was terrible all season because he's 100 years old. And then his last like 6 starts, he's been a freak. I don't know. What's that? Guy pitches every 5 days, 6 starts, 30 days, about a month. About the last month and a half, Justin Verlander been sick. But last month and a half, the Tigers have been fucking terrible. Terrible. So as of this taping, the math suggests that they will make a wild card spot and then probably get embarrassed. So we'll see there. So what do they look like? Yeah, that's where they're at now. Miserable. Pistons. I mean, what are we supposed to complain about with the Pistons? You know, right now as we're approaching, it's almost October, about a week away from October. What are you complaining about if you're a Piston? You might be mad that the Malik thing hasn't happened yet. I don't know what's going on with that. It seemed like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like, oh, Malik Beasley closing in on a decision now that he's cleared this witch hunt, this gambling witch hunt. And we still just kind of haven't heard anything. So I'm assuming that's impending any day. Guys are starting to sign training camp deals. So I just imagine that's got to be. I mean, Killian Hayes just signed a contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Malik Beasley still. He doesn't have. Oh, okay, all right, okay. Was watching Cavs Reddit try to convince themselves that the Killian thing's gonna work. Be still my sweetheart. Be sweet my still heart. How does that go? Have fun with that. I'm still convinced there's some good basketball in there, but I don't know. I still feel the same way. Excuse me. I still feel the same way about Stanley Johnson. So, what do I know? Other than that, though, things are pretty sweet. There's been some rumors that have started to swirl in the last week about Lauri Markkanen. I think it was Zach Lowe. Did he throw something out there? Did you do like a little segment about Lauri Markkanen? I think he had a guest on, and maybe it was him. They were talking about Lauri, and he's like, keep an eye on Detroit and blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't really, Pistons Reddit got really excited about that. It doesn't really surprise me that much. I mean, what we were told was that the Pistons are going to kind of chill in the offseason. So that way, by the time the trade deadline rolls around, they can do something sick and potentially nasty. Likening it to when Indiana traded for Pascal Siakam at the deadline. Maybe something like that. Maybe like the middle of December, early January. Not quite at the deadline is when we get that. You start to there's always one kind of interesting trade that happens in December and July. Maybe that's going to be the Lauri Markkanen thing. Keep an eye on that. I don't know. I go back and forth on that. I don't have the trades in front of me, but I got to tell you, bro, at the start of the summer, my take was there's no way that anybody can get Lauri Markkanen because Danny Ainge is just going to strong arm the deal. And the stuff that you're going to have to give up. How is it possible that the juice is going to be worth the squeeze? But the business that Danny Ainge has been doing this summer has been so reckless and so shocking that I don't know. You might be able to, I don't know what you get him for, but I think it's a fraction of what I thought it was going to cost just a couple of months ago. And so if you're a Pistons fan, you got that to look forward to. Like, we're at the stage, this is maybe the real take, is if you're a Pistons fan, we're at the stage of the rebuild where all we can really do is wait and see, like, the shit that we have that went well last year. How does it look this year, and how do we build on it? And then, like, the best case scenario is that we do some awesome shit to make it a little bit better, like getting Lauri Markkanen. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, we're just, like, keeping our eyes peeled as fans, or if I could be so bold as to, open a window into Trajan Langdon's mind, the GM of the Pistons, assessing what they do have on the floor and maybe what they're missing. And just waiting for the right player. Because the truth is that this is not the core. This is not the team that will win a championship. I imagine a lot of these guys are. If the Pistons are going to have any sustained success, it will be because of guys like Cade and Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. You know what I mean? Ron Holland. Isaiah Stewart. You know what I mean? But you're also going to have to give some guys up if you want to make something cool happen. Is it possible to do a Lauri Markkanen trade and still have Jaden Ivey on your basketball team? I have no idea. Again, the business that Danny Ainge has been doing this summer leads me to the conclusion that you might be able to do that, right? Them making the playoffs. We spent, 5 episodes like 6 months ago talking about this. Because the Pistons made the playoffs, they didn't have their first round pick this year, which means they now have the flexibility to move future firsts, because the protected pick that they owed to the Minnesota Timberwolves in a trade that was originally made with the New York Knicks to acquire Isaiah Stewart in the 2020 NBA draft, that pick finally conveyed, and that was what was restricting Detroit from moving first-round picks at all for 5 fucking years. 5. The Pistons couldn't move a first-round pick, but now they can. And it was really easy for, Pistons fans and me on this show to get really excited about, like, hey, this summer, some guys are going to be available. Like, why don't we use those picks? The smart thing to do was to just, like, chill. We don't need to do anything right now. It was scary, I think, for the first, I don't know, when did the Desmond Bane trade happen? Wasn't that, like, during the finals? It was fucking weird. It just happened in the middle of the finals. Oh, okay, you can do that? Oh, okay. It did feel scary at the time, and subsequent moves that Orlando has made since then, like drafting What's the kid's name? They just drafted him from Michigan State. What's his name? This is going to drive me insane. It's my guy. It's a guy's son, Jace Richardson. Yeah, they drafted Jace Richardson. Fucking love that pick for Orlando. Such a good pick. You see moves like that, and you see a team that is loading up in an Eastern Conference that is otherwise a little bit hindered. There's no Damian Lillard anymore. It's a weird guy to start with. There's no Tyrese Halliburton anymore. There's no Jason Tatum anymore. They're not fucking dead, but for a year with their Achilles injuries, you will have a unique NBA where the East is a little bit hindered. And there have been teams in the conference that have really seized that opportunity. You think so far on paper they've seized that opportunity, right? Detroit ostensibly hasn't been one of those teams in the immediate, but in the future, I don't know. Lower marketing? I don't know. I could see it. It's a very, very wordy way of just saying, we're chilling. Pistons fans? We're chilling right now. We're good. I know, was it Cade and Duran that went on vacation to like Italy and they brought Malik with them? Like this happened this month. Like this was like a week or two ago. Guys going on vacation, team bonding strong, vibes are up. There's really nothing to be mad about. We're just kind of in a wait and see with the Pistons. So they're up. Lions are up. The Tigers are down. So that leaves what? That leaves the Red Wings. Let me see if I can do something right now. I'm texting my brother. Because if we're going to do a Red Wings, sorry, I'm just trying to send this text. If we're going to do a Red Wings State of the Address, I got to have somebody who really knows puck. Because if I start talking about the Red Wings, I'm going to be like, because their offseason has been a total blind spot for me. The Detroit Red Wings recently unveiled some new uniforms. Are they doing like another like Winter Classic or something like that? I don't know what these new uniforms are for. They're very, very cool. I don't know. I've been the one guy. How long has Stevie been the GM of the Red Wings? It's been like 5 years yet. It was my brother. I'm gonna call him my brother, big Wings guy. We're gonna call him, and we're gonna get a Detroit Red Wings state of the address. This is my brother's debut on the. How do I put this thing on? Put this thing on speaker. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're doing right now. We've spent the last like 20 minutes doing a state of the address for Detroit sports following the Lions-Ravens win because we're up right now. And so we talked about the Tigers and we talked about the Pistons, but we got to do the Red Wings now. And I didn't know, like, I know vibes-wise things are kind of medium right now. They're a little bit, it's not scary hours yet, but it's a little bit like, eh. And so the only thing that I really have, because the offseason's been a total blind spot, the only thing I have that I talked about was the new sweaters that they just unveiled. What are those for? Is it a Winter Classic that we're doing?
Brother, we have been around for 100 years.
Oh, right. And that's why, right. So it's that, and that's why at Center Ice, they updated the thing.
Yeah, we have a Centennial logo. It's on the jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, whole season-long celebration.
Yeah, those sweaters are like $300. I tried to look at them. No shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, but so what's going on? So what if you're a Red Wings fan right now, what happened in the offseason that you're pumped about?
Well, it definitely depends on who you ask, because there are certainly still some pessimistic Red Wings fans. You have the very optimistic fans, and then you have maybe the ones who are just going into it with whatever happens. Biggest move, honestly, was trading for John Gibson, upgraded in net. He is definitely the best goalie that we've had in a handful of years here. He is not going to change the trajectory of our entire season. That said, the idea is that he is able to change something about our season, because goaltending and defense has been so poor, for lack of a better word, the last handful of years. So goaltending should be better. Marco Kasper was a revelation for them last year. And the idea is that he'll be either centering the second line of DeBrincat and Kane, and he was unbelievable doing that last year as a rookie, or he could potentially spend some time on the first line in a left wing with Raymond and Larkin. As far as we can tell right now, he's going to be centering Kane and DeBrincat, which is completely fine. That first line hole could be a couple of people throughout the year, or at least to start the season. I guess to answer your original question, though, about optimism, it's really just our youth and a full season of Todd McClellan. Having his boost last year, we went on a couple of, I think, 2 7-game winning streaks, and that was really exciting, especially because we looked so much better under his leadership and whatnot. We looked much more physical. Offense actually existed. Defense was at least a little bit better, just given that it was arguably the worst in the NHL for a little bit there. So we should be a much more physical bunch. Youth is looking very good, so hopefully they're able to contribute.
Yeah, Mo Sider.
Almost immediately.
Mo Sider.
Yep, that is one name that you know.
Yep, that's him.
Nailed that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so what then? If they don't make the playoffs, then because you guys, I swear, the last 2 years it's been they're going to make the playoffs and then they don't make the playoffs, and it's somebody's fault that's not Steve Yzerman's. So my question is, if they don't make I want to get you on record and have it exist in perpetuity on the internet. If they do not make the playoffs this year, are you willing to say on September 25th that I can start asking questions about Steve Yzerman?
He's not flawless. Like, he has a handful of moves that he's made. Like, I think one of the biggest ones that everyone goes back to is the Jake Wallman trade. Like, to this day, we still do not have an answer as to why he was traded and why we got nothing for him. And then after we traded him to San Jose received a first-round pick in trading him.
Oh.
We got nothing of the sort, so he's not off the hook for something like that. Our defense has been so bad that those things he is, I suppose, liable for. At the same time, anytime that someone wants to get upset about free agency and the trade market, they don't understand that hockey is not the same as any other sport. Especially basketball is the easiest one for people to latch onto, that, oh, you just flip so-and-so for a bunch of picks, or you flip one star for another, or you make a big splash in free agency. Contracts don't work the same way in the NHL. So players are under contract for a much longer period of time in the NHL. And with that, there is also, just on a human level, the players themselves operate differently. They do want term, whereas NBA, like it or not, they just kind of want the money.
The check, yeah.
Right. So in the NHL, there's much more that goes into that decision making, and unfortunately, the Red Wings haven't been a sell for quite some time. So with that in mind, and with the anomaly that is the Florida Panthers, they have built through either free agent acquisitions, which even to this point, it's more so now that they've won via trade, big trades, which really, again, anomaly. You can't really just copy and paste what they've done anywhere. We have to build bottom up. And to Steve's credit, I understand not wanting to be patient. I understand that in theory, we should have made the playoffs by now, the last 2-ish seasons.
He's been here for what, 5 years, 6? Is this year 6?
Stevie, 2019, I believe, is when he came.
Yeah, sir, year 6, then year 7.
Yeah, we can go on a whole tangent too about what he had to work with after he took over for Ken Holland.
Oh, but we'll be here. But we'll be here forever. What it comes down to for me.
Which is what I'm saying. So the main thing is that you have to build through the draft. One, we have not had the lottery luck that some other teams have had.
That's true.
While we've been bad, the Connor McDavids of the world, he's an anomaly in himself, but the top tier NHL talent hasn't been there when we've drafted at the top. Fortunately, we have still come away with Lucas Raymond with the 4th overall pick, Mo Sider with the 6th overall pick. You have guys like Axel Sandin Pellikka, who kind of looks the part. You have Nate Danielson, who is looking the part. You have Marco Casper, who just did what he did last year. The players who Steve Yzerman is drafting are contributing. They are looking the part. It is taking a long time for them to get here because you're drafting them as you're projecting on a 17, 18, 19-year-old. That's not easy. And then they have to take time to develop. Steve, people can go back and forth on this too. How long you let guys sit in the AHL or play overseas before they make it to the NHL roster. But then at the same time, you have to earn it. Our pro scouting department, very easy to rip them apart for some of the decisions that have come via free agency from their scouting. Some of the free agency signings that we have made over the last handful of years are either mind-boggling or just whatever we projected them to be, they have not done that.
Right. It's like
big mixed bag.
When we made fun of Troy Weaver for, remember, everybody likes to make fun of him for his centers, how much he wants centers on his team.
Mm-hmm.
Centers to Troy Weaver is bad free agents to Steve Yzerman.
Yes and no. That still goes back to what I was saying too, that whether we like it or not, players have not wanted to immediately sign with the Red Wings, or a bigger issue has been that some of the players that we might want to go after in free agency don't make it to free agency because as far as tampering goes, that's been a hot button issue in the NHL. Seemingly, players have deals in place with teams who are not us and not their previous team prior to free agency. So July 1st rolls around, guys are already signed to teams that, in theory, they would have been talking to, or at least their agents were talking to, prior to free agency being open. So you don't even get an opportunity to have that first conversation with them.
Yeah, but that's like when Apple comes out with a new phone and they announce something that Android did 5 years ago, Samsung did 5 years ago. That's been the NBA's problem forever. Remember,
okay.
I mean,
how do you fix that in the NHL?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying. It's just sort of a problem that we've already seen happen in professional sports.
But to that point, it's a problem.
No,
for
sure.
There's no real way around it. So when Steve doesn't even get an opportunity to talk to some of the free agents who would, one, be a good fit here, two, we can afford, and they end up elsewhere before that conversation is had, there's only so much he can do. Like I said, that does not get him completely off the hook or the rest of the pro scouting department off the hook when it comes to some of the other players who we have signed.
I'm like, dog, like, you're Steve Yzerman, though. What do you mean they don't want to talk to you? That's not an answer to me. You're Steve Yzerman. Is Wayne Gretzky the GM of another team? Like, who are these people? Like, I'm not trying to tell Steve Yzerman to cheat, but if you can't get these meetings, like, you're Steve Yzerman. You just won, was it 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay?
Winning does matter to NHL players. 2, Stevie was not there. He built them prior to them winning those cups, but he came here and then they cooked.
Oh, they didn't win? I thought he won one and then left.
They won, I could be remembering wrong, but no, I don't believe so. I think if they won in 2019, which they very well could have, he had just arrived in Detroit.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So their other GM got a lot of credit for all that success, but look at them now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But
well,
no, like
all
I
right.
said, it's as far, you just also have to consider the human element. So like I said, hockey players actually want to win. They want term. And for a little bit, we had not zero assets, negative assets. Justin Abdelkader is still on the books.
No, he's not.
I believe this is the last season that we're paying Justin
No
Abdelkader.
way.
So, when you take into consideration, thank you, everything you did, Ken Holland. Also, what did you do, Ken Holland?
Well, I just want to give some context to the people who maybe don't know. Justin Abdelkader hasn't been actually on the roster in how many years? Is it 5?
Not
5?
A decade.
Is it?
It's been a while. Decade is exaggerating, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
I want to say 2018.
Gee whiz, no way.
I could be wrong. It's been a while.
Okay. All right. Well, then the tally that we went into this last one with was Lions up, Pistons medium to up. Tigers mud, dead, don't care about them. They don't deserve to go to the playoffs. So what does that make the Red Wings? Are they up or are they like middle? Are they okay to up?
So what was frustrating was going into last year, given the way the previous season had ended, the off season leading up to it, and knowing, some of the youth factors that came into it. If you paid attention to things, there was an understanding that there was a very good chance that last year was going to be some sort of regression, even if it was essentially like, staying stagnant, similar point total at the end of the year. Unfortunately, that's still regression. But it was with the idea that some of these younger guys would be able to come in, take on a bigger role, do whatever they need to do to contribute, develop, and this would be the year to build on or really take that next step forward. I still think that there's truth to that. Lucas Raymond has gotten way better every single year. He was always expected to be, I suppose, as good as he's been, but at the same time, there's been a half consensus out there for a little bit, maybe more outside of Red Wings fandom, that he's not supposed to be a superstar. And he's shown in big moments that he has that it factor. So depending on what he can do, Alex DeBrincat was unbelievable last year. So if he can continue that trend, we have those two guys dominating. Dylan Larkin, same thing. Patrick Kane still doing his thing, at least offensively. We have Mo and Edvinson on the back end. We still need help on the back end. Outside of those two, goaltending should be better. And on top of it, Todd McClellan has shown how much he can get out of these guys, and it seems like we're going to have a much different identity. So playoffs, it's very hard to say because our division is real deep, real talented, real competitive. So that's going to be a battle in itself. But by all accounts, I believe that this should absolutely be, I would say, our best year since we started rebuilding.
That's what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Coping Hour. My brother, his State of the Union, State of the Address of the Detroit Red Wings, has also met Patrick Kane. So there's a sort of a stamp of legitimacy to it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Also met Tarek Skubal.
I did. Strong.
Who did you have a better dap with, Skubal or Patrick Kane?
Patrick Kane, I would say.
The video, I think, suggested... Well, because you got to do it twice with him, right?
No, but he did say goodbye on his way.
That's what it was. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yes.
All right, Matthew. I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to keep doing the show. It's a good first appearance from you on the program.
Happy to hear. Hope everyone enjoyed.
So where did that put us? 2-2 then? Said the Red Wings we should be excited about. Okay. Should be the best season that we've had under Steven Yzerman. Okay. That's what they're saying, folks. They're saying 2-2. That's about as, I mean, that's about the most that you could expect, or the most that you could be excited for, I should say. If two of your sports teams, well, first of all, if you have 4 sports teams, you're pretty lucky. I wonder if I take that for granted, honestly. How many cities are there in America that only have like 1 sports team or maybe 2 sports teams? And as a Detroit sports fan, I got all 4. I got all my bases covered. You know, like imagine if you're you live in Missouri or Kansas City or whatever the fuck, whichever one. No. I'm thinking of Kansas City. St. Louis is in Missouri. If you're a St. Louis fan, it's like, yeah, we got the Cards, and that's cool. But we lost the damn Rams. You know, you're in Buffalo. It's like, well, we got the Bills. Well, they have the Sabres, too. I forgot. I just remembered about the Sabres in real time. I guess they got 2 sports. You know what I'm saying, though. And so I'm very lucky I got all 4 sports. Well, okay, if 2 of my teams stink and 2 of my teams are good, or I guess in this case, 3 of them are good. The hell am I supposed to be mad about? You know? It's like if you're a Wisconsin sports fan right now, we've done this, I think, recently. Brewers about as up as they could possibly be. Did they clinch the Central yet? I'm sure they did. About as up as they could possibly be. Packers, yeah. There's something going on with Milwaukee, and I'm sorry, with the Bucks, though, specifically with the Bucks. There's something going on with them. The hell was that quote that came out the other day from Giannis. I don't know what the source was, but I know this quote was real. Giannis said something where he was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to get traded, but I know that the reality of it is that I could get traded. And so if I do get traded, then that's the reality of it. And that would mean that I got traded. Or some bullshit like that. What? Why are you feeding Shams? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving Shams ammo? Why are you giving him the opportunity to fire off another tweet about how Giannis does not actually want to be in Milwaukee and that maybe we should keep our ears open for... I'm not entirely convinced, by the way, that Shams hasn't poked the bear with some of the Giannis shit that he has this summer, because his fucking fingers cashed a check that his ass couldn't fucking cash or whatever. When he said in July or in early June, mid-June, he said, this is going to be the craziest offseason you've ever seen in the NBA. And then it was just kind of like par for the course crazy, where like 2 or 3 pretty crazy things happen, and you're like, whoa, what? And then that's kind of it. Like, that's what... NBA off seasons are generally pretty crazy. So if you're going to say it's the craziest one of all time, you know what I mean? Like, shit be happening in July and in August. Kind of in August. But, you know, it's already crazy by default. I don't know. Has Shams has he made anything of it? I don't know. I'm just kind of like, what do you want, Giannis? What do you want? What do you fucking want? Because when you've done this in the past, it has pressured Milwaukee into doing something wild and insane and fun. And now, I don't know. They don't have any picks. What are they supposed to do? How did the Dame contract end up? Did they waive and stretch him? Is that how that worked out? So is he on their books for, I don't know, just got to be just a couple years. Can't be that much. If they depending on how much they stretched him. I guess I can't say. I always get mad at myself for not pulling shit up or not having something offhand, but I'm 52 minutes into this fucking episode. How was I supposed to have that offhand? How was I supposed to know that I was going to start talking about Giannis's contract today? I didn't. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen with that Miles Turner. I guess. We'll see how that looks by the middle of December when everybody's pissed off and mad about shit and throwing shit around. Talking about how Bucks should have traded Giannis. Giannis should have got out of there. Whatever's going on with them. I don't know. Stephen A. Smith, you can only imagine what he's going to have to say about Giannis. This is preposterous. Stephen A. Smith, but he does gay porn stuff in A. Smith. Maybe something like that. I'm not sure. That guy's been everywhere, man. I saw he did something with Ben Shapiro a couple of weeks ago. I did not end up checking that out. But I also didn't end up seeing. It's pretty bizarre that Stephen A. Smith could do, what was it, an hour? I don't know how long he did with Ben Shapiro. It's weird that none of those clips ever came across any of my socials. Seems like two people that no matter what they do, it's going to hit my algorithm. It never did. Is it possible that Stephen A. Smith and Ben Shapiro had nothing to say for an hour? No ground was broken at all, and they just spent an hour sucking each other off, and there were no breakouts. There were no social breakouts. It was just them sort of doing small talk for an hour. Stephen A. Smith and Ben Shapiro. Okay. Nick Fuentes was recently on... He went on, what's the guy's name? Patrick Bet David. I don't remember, where is he from? Is he from Iran? Is that where he's Iraq? I don't remember where he's from. He's from the Middle East. And he's the guy that, I don't know if you don't recognize him by his name. He's the guy that he's popped up in your YouTube shorts before. And he's like, 30 years ago, I moved to the United States. And there was no COVID and there was no technology. And then 10 years ago, when Donald Trump was elected, there was no COVID, but there was some technology. And then 5 years ago, there was more COVID, there was massive COVID, and there was tons of technology. And then I stay in America. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, he had Nick Fuentes on his show the other day. And he was like, so I am an immigrant. And so you think that I should not be here? And Nick Fuentes is like, not really, son. He's like, I think you being here as an immigrant means that America is not what it once was. God damn! It means that America is no longer what it was traditionally and historically. God damn! Sheesh. We talked, I think, an episode ago about how there are like CNN Nazis you know, where the libs love to be like Nazi fascist, and it's like just sort of like a buzzword, whatever. And then there are real Nazis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Fuentes. Matter of fact, this is maybe a good time to do this. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description wherever it is you listen to this program. We got this email 2 days ago from Lucia. Lucia, welcome back to the show, brother. You emailed in a couple of, maybe like a month ago about the Sydney Sweeney shit. And I didn't read it, and I really wanted to. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end. But I just sort of had brought up Nick Fuentes, and so she sent in this email. It's really funny. Subject line, Nick Fuentes equals the right's own drag queen. This is also like the 4th fucking episode in a row that we've talked about this guy, but it's just sort of how it happened. Lucia, what's up? Hi, Nick. I was talking about the appeal of Nick Fuentes with my boyfriend the other day and how elusive it is to me that people enjoy / get outraged at his content. Saying the craziest thing you could think of is vastly dull to me, and I would think that anyone else who grew up on the internet oversaturated with that kind of press the middle suggestion on the keyboard until you get a coherent sentence form of take. Example, trans illegal immigrant murderers in prison are giving abortions, unquote. I realized mid through saying all of that guys like Nick Fuentes are literally the Republican version of drag queens. Purposefully exaggerated, over-the-top perceptions of how the other side sees them. Drag queens have been snarky, pop culture obsessed, man-hating, explicitly talking about gay sex and bending gender norms is equitable to Fuentes's women shouldn't vote, Hitler was white. I'm sorry, Hitler was white. Let me take that one from the top. All the way from the top. Drag queens being snarky, pop culture obsessed, man-hating, explicitly talking about gay sex and bending gender norms is equitable to Fuentes's women shouldn't vote, Hitler was right, we need a dictatorship viewpoints. Both cases satisfy their own frustration with how they're being demonized and lumped into one category based off political party by the media, if that makes sense. I don't know, just a thought. Yeah, I think I fucked up the reading of that more than I should have. I apologize for that, because there's a take in here somewhere. I don't know that I really agree with it all the way, but it is a really funny take. You did say that I would think that anyone else who grew up with the internet oversaturated with that kind of press the middle suggestion on your keyboard until you get a coherent sentence form of take. Example, trans illegal immigrant murderers in prison giving abortions. It's funny that you use that last thing as an example, because that literally won motherfuckers an election. You know what I mean? The migrants are giving transgender surgery, or they're doing transgender surgeries on migrants in prison. Okay, what the fuck do you care? They're already in jail. You want to send migrants to jail? What, you telling me they can't switch their shit around while they're in jail? They're already in jail. So even if that was true, what does that mean? You know? You're mad that people are in the country that shouldn't be in the country. Okay, I think that's fucked up and wrong, but I understand logically like why you're mad about it, even if I think it's wrong. And you want them to be deported or thrown in jail. Okay, well, in this instance, they were thrown in jail. And then let's also assume that some noble servant, I don't know, was like, oh, what's that? You're feeling like maybe your soul is not of the body that you were born with, and maybe you need a surgery to switch your shit up and feel more like yourself. Well, shit, you're already in prison. You got all the time in the world. Like, let's do this at 3:00. And then 3:00, this Venezuelan goes into like a fucking, I don't know, a cafeteria, fucking mess hall, and lays down and gets their shit yanked, gets it snipped up, and they're the problem? They're going to be in jail. They got to pass the time somehow. You know what I mean? Might as well turn that shit inside out. What the fuck is that your problem for? You know, maybe if we had health insurance, that wouldn't have to come out of your tax dollars. You know? Maybe if we had universal health care, these people could get their shit switched up cost-free. But they can't. All that shit, I'm really getting away from the email. This had nothing to do with anything that you said. I mean, it kind of did a little bit. Nick Fuentes is a drag queen? Yeah, sure. I like it, Lucia. I like it. I like this. There is also a layer to this. Look, it's important on this show that we never speculate about the sex life of somebody that we don't know. But there was a rumor out there that Nick Fuentes, and there's no way for me to say this while my grandma listens to the show that doesn't, get uncomfortable. But I just got to say it the way that it's been. Well, why don't I set the stage first? Look, if I don't know how many of you out there know Destiny. He's a streamer. He's a ostensibly left-wing streamer. That's it. He's just a political streamer. Well, a couple months ago, there was a video or two that got leaked of that streamer hanging out with some dudes. Just hanging out with some guys, just guys being dudes, some penises and some mouths. And he owned it. He was like, yeah, that was me. That was me, and that was my face. And I was smiling. It was consensual. I enjoyed it. And my take at the time, everybody was shitting on this guy because it was, well, I say everybody. It was honestly like Fuentes' boys, like the Groypers, who were like, oh, he's so gay. It's like, who cares if he's gay? He's also just passing the time. Like, we're all just here. I don't know. Who cares if he is? It stinks for him that video, you sort of get outed in that way. I don't know how he identified like publicly before, but it's like, well, if you had never disclosed your sexuality before, it's kind of hard when there's a video of a penis in your mouth and it gets put on the internet without your consent. It's sort of hard to deflect sort of what, I don't know, maybe he was getting, it was sort of like Diddy style. Although he would not have then come out like a day or two later and been like, that was me, with a smile on his face. That was me. What's up? Where am I going with this? Well, apparently Nick Fuentes got sucked off by Destiny. That's what they say. That's what people have speculated for a while. That's the thing that happened. And this is what I'm saying. I don't care. I don't care what people do. And I think it's really weird to talk about somebody's sex life. But when it comes to Nick Fuentes having gay sex, it's just funny to me. And so it also would just make sense. I mean, the power dynamic there, he would probably be like, you little fucking, I'm not going to say it, but you know what Nick Fuentes would say to a guy like that if he was. Nick Fuentes does, honestly, to kind of go with Lucia's drag queen thing, he does kind of seem like one of those guys who'd be like, yeah, I'm straight, but I'll let a guy do it sometimes. It's because it's different. It's just a mouth. I don't know. He just kind of seems like one of those guys that would do that. He like goes to a Home Depot and he goes to the bathroom in a super unsuspecting way, and then suddenly there's a guy tapping his foot in the other stall next to him. Nick Fuentes starts to get a little curious, and he puts his hand under the stall on a guy. I mean, you guys know how the rest of this story goes, but seems like that could be. But I'm not going to do this. I wouldn't speculate about somebody because it's not cool to do that. I think it's really weird to do that. If anybody ever did that to me or people that I cared about, it'd make me really uncomfortable. So Lucia, we're not going to do that here. But I got to tell you, Lucia sent in an email probably like a month ago, when all of that shit was happening with American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney and her big, the big like advertisement campaign that came out where it was like Sydney Sweeney has good genes and everybody was like, this is a eugenicist fucking dog whistle. And I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life, and people need to fucking log off and go get mad about shit that's actually real. I got a lot of really mad emails about that. People were really pissed off at me about that. And for like 2 weeks, people were really mad. And I just dropped it because I was like, okay, if I'm going to piss you guys off, I'm not going to just like keep baiting you guys into getting mad. Like if you just piss you off, I'll just bottle the take. It's not that serious. But I got to tell you, so Lucia sent in a really good email. The problem was it was about feminism. And my point had nothing to do with feminism other than the parts where I was kidding. So she was right about all this. The only email that anybody sent in that delivered actual pushback to the shit that I was saying, I got to tell you, looking back on that, I don't think there's anybody in the world who gave it more of a shit about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign than I did. Oh my God, I was so mad. I was so fucking mad about that. And it's crazy that there's going to be at least one person listening to the show who lives in a completely different part of the world, dozens of thousands of miles, tens of thousands, fives of thousands of miles away from the United States of America. And culturally, the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney advertisement campaign is not in their wheelhouse at all, and they have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. Good for that person. Good for that person. You know, all I'm saying is I don't remember. It is a weird epidemic, and I'll say this: it's a weird epidemic. Put these motherfuckers in bathtubs, and that's enough to sell the product? I don't know. You put Sydney Sweeney in a bathtub for Squatch, the deodorant. They're selling bars of soap. You put Sydney Sweeney in a bathtub for that, it makes sense. She's selling bars of soap. It makes sense. You put her in a bathtub. What the fuck is this Fanatic Sportsbook putting Livy Dunn, previously rizzed up by Baby Gronk? You put her in a bathtub in a football stadium at midfield, and she's like, bet on Fanatic Sportsbook. You're fanatics. You're fanatics. You make t-shirts for teams who win Super Bowls, Michael Rubin. You fucking dirt rat. Why do you have a sports book? And why is Livy Dunn butt-ass naked in a bathtub pitching this to me? What the fuck does this have to do with anything? You put a blonde bitch in a bathtub and you think everybody's going to sign up for your fucking sports book? You got me fucked up. You got me fucked up. I'm not doing that. What the hell is that all about? The movie comes out 10 years ago called The Big Short by Adam McKay. It's a movie about the financial crisis, the housing housing market collapse in 2008. And there's a sequence in the movie where real-life Margot Robbie explains something from a bubble bath. But the joke was that you'll be able to understand the complicated thing that we're talking about here more if it's explained by Margot Robbie drinking Chardonnay in a fucking bubble bath. It's funny. And they were right. Because she just explains it in a way and that's the joke. That's part of the movie. Look, I don't mean to spend 3 minutes talking about why is this motherfucker in a bathtub, naked in a bathtub in a football stadium, trying to get me to... And you're going to tell me this whole time you've probably been screaming at the radio. Nick, sex sells. That's why. Sex sells. That's what they say. Sex sells. Well, it didn't when this bitch was trying to sell jeans. It didn't. How about that? It didn't then. The stock plummeted. And I tell you what. You saw so many people like Donald Trump. I don't know. Just like, let's just name a random guy. Like Donald Trump, like chiming in on this, being like, I think American Eagle is great. I think Sydney Sweeney is great. And all that did was give ammunition to people being like, oh, you see? Donald Trump likes the ad. That means if you like it, you are a Nazi. And I'm like, Donald Trump hasn't seen the fucking ad. I don't know if he knows who Sydney Sweeney is. Trump, he loves his blondes. He loves his blondes. He knows who Sydney Sweeney is. He's seen those things. You know what I mean? He likes Sydney Sweeney. I was just like, he saw that it pissed the left off. And he was like, okay, cool. This is the thing that I can jump in on. That was like the entire American right saw that something was pissing off liberal America. And they're like, well, suddenly we love American Eagle jeans. And suddenly we love Sydney Sweeney. Right? Meanwhile, like there are actual eugenicist communities being built in fucking Arkansas trying to expand into Oklahoma. Keep being mad about this ad, though. Keep being mad about this dog whistle. Keep being mad about that. Keep doing it. It's going to work. It's going to be effective. You should keep doing it. Because my biggest problem was like, why, if it's a dog whistle, right? If this is a Sydney Sweeney, oh, I have goods passed down from thousands. I don't want to fucking talk about this shit again. Why be so underhanded in the current political and social climate? Why be so underhanded if you're trying to do a hat tip, a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to fucking Nazis? The guys who have lightning bolts and 88 tattooed on their fucking back. Why be so subtle? Why not just be like, we love when girls have blonde hair and blue eyes, and we love when they have fat asses and big boobs, and we like when they wear jeans. Why not just make that your fucking commercial? It's my thing. And Lucia's email, again, was rooted in shit that was actually real, because she was like, it's a nod to, what was it, Brooke Shields doing a Calvin Klein ad when she was a fucking teenager, like a kid, like a real kid. And how there were like some weird undertones and shit like that, and I completely agree with that. And Lucia, and basically my take was, I should just pull up your damn email. I'm honestly kind of pissed off that I'm still talking about this. So I'm going to move on, Lucia, because you didn't bring this up. You brought up Nick Fuentes. He's a loser. He's funny, but he's really not. He's scary to me. He's scary to me. And maybe was also possibly fellatiated by another man, which is fine. But it's not fine when your whole deal is being like people who fellatiate other men need to be burned alive, you know? And so when that is a sort of rumor, just something to put a pin in. Something to put a pin in. Something came up. I'm going to start going down a whole rabbit. I don't want to start talking about Charlie Kirk. I don't want to do it, so I got to start talking about something else. You want to talk about some real shit? Guys, mind if I leave you guys with something real before we get off? I'm experiencing something. I'm at a point in my life where video games are really hard to play, and when I do finally get to play them, I only get to play for like, I don't get to like sink time into it anymore, and it really stinks. Like, I only play sports games now. I'm at a point in my life where I only have time to play sports games. Like a couple of months ago, I downloaded Cyberpunk on my PlayStation, and I still to this day have not gotten out of the tutorial because I just don't have time, bro. I don't have time to sit down and get like emotionally and physically invested in a video game anymore. Like I'm so like if I had to play Red Dead Redemption blindly vanilla for the first time in my life right now, I'd be fucked and I wouldn't get to finish it. There's no way. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the time to really sink into a game like that. You know what I mean? And that really stinks. Like I think I've spent more time in Cyberpunk adjusting the size of my character's penis and figuring out if I wanted it to be circumcised or not than I did actually playing the tutorial. I just don't have time for it. I've been playing FIFA 26 Ultimate Edition. Got a week's worth of early access. Been playing the shit out of that. I'm a fucking sick freak at FIFA. Got a managerial career going right now with Juventus. Got a player career going right now, year 6 with Leicester City. And so if I got an hour or two at the end of my day or while my son's taking a nap, I get to play a little bit of video games. A weird point in your life, man. It's a weird point in your life when you just realize it's kind of over a little bit, and those days of like 6 hours goes by and you're just kind of gaming and you don't got shit else going on, or like maybe you do have stuff going on, but you're like, I don't fucking care. I'm playing video games. You know, I think some of you guys out there have reached this point at previous times, at previous points in your life. You know, you've kind of been through this before. Some of you may be going through it right now or haven't gone through it yet. It doesn't have to just be like having a kid, by the way, that does this. You know, it could be any obligation, any responsibility. It could be school, it could be work, it could be anything. I think having a kid is sort of the ultimate, like, well, I literally don't have time to do it. You know what I mean? But it is just such a, I'm not trying to, I don't like the way I said that because it makes it sound like I'm trying to compare, you know, one thing to another. I'm really not trying to do that. It sucks altogether, man. When you get to that point in your life where you're like, I'm not done playing video games, but I am at a point where, again, all I have time for is the sports games, you know? Or like sometimes I'll boot up Skyrim, but that's because it's a game that I know the ins and outs of it, and I know where I'm going, and I know what I'm doing, and I know, you know what I mean? I don't need to look up fucking tutorials and like, oh, how do I do this? I don't need to even, I would like audio, you know, but like I don't need to really immerse myself or anything. I fucking know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. So it's just 2K or FIFA or damn golf or football or something like that. And it stinks, man. I just miss being able to play games, and it stinks that the days of, you know, I spent 10 years playing Destiny 2. Well, Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, like just Destiny as a series. I spent 10 years playing that game, and it stinks that it's sort of out of my life now, and it should be out of my life. It doesn't deserve to be back in my life, and it's just hard, man. It's just one of the things about, you know, I don't want to say getting old. I'm only 27, but you know, you just age. You just age, and you don't have time for shit anymore. And you know, the stuff that makes you happy, and I don't know. It's video games. It's video games. What do you mean that's not a thing in my life? It's always been a thing in my life. And now if I get to, I've been saying an hour or two if I get the chance. Fuck me if I'm playing for 2 hours. Are you kidding me? When do I have time to do that? Even when my son goes to sleep, I play for 30 minutes. I think to myself, oh shit, I got to go clean his bottles, and I got to go prep some stuff, and I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go brush my teeth. And then before you know it, I'm in fucking bed. I don't get to do this shit anymore, man. It stinks. It stinks when one of the sort of the crutches of your, you know, I don't want to say mental fortitude and be over dramatic, but just stinks getting older a little bit. Just stinks. Spotify, are you guys playing games? You guys playing games? When's that damn Ghost of, was it Yotai? I don't do the voice. You don't need to do that. What's that? When's that coming out? That's gotta be soon. Was it them that I read a little quip, a little headline that it was like, when GTA got delayed, the Ghost of whatever, those devs, like went out and got super fucked up because they were like, yes, we're not competing with GTA 6. Can you imagine the relief when that shit got delayed for them? Whenever I play that game, it'll be years from now. There's no way I play that on release. I'll play it when it's free on PlayStation Plus. Again, years from now. Yeah, what are you guys playing? You guys play that new FIFA? You playing that new FIFA? You trying to get ran? If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, what's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.